Hey internet, how you doing? It's me, McLean. Hope you've been well. Just thought I'd flip on the camera and just talk. I'm just gonna talk about this rig. People like rigs, I'm gonna talk about our rig. This is the Canon C70 all rigged up, and I love it. It's a beast, but you know, in the best kind of way. So I'm just gonna break down each of the bits and pieces and hope you enjoy. So the main part of this rig is obviously the C70. We've talked about this camera before and why we love it. I've made some videos that you can watch on it, but long story short, this camera's amazing. The dynamic range, incredible. The image, amazing. The internal NDs, the ergonomics, the size, dual SD card slots, all the features, just the best. Love this camera to bits. Autofocus is really great on this camera, especially in the most recent firmware update. It's kind of mind-blowing how good it's gotten from just a free firmware upgrade. It's not R5 territory, but it's very good. Some people don't love that this camera doesn't have IBIS. Not really a deal breaker for me. I kind of like having no IBIS just because once this camera's, you know, rigged up and it got a bit more girth to it, the handheld out of it, you know, when operated properly, looks a lot more natural, I find, than a lot of IBIS systems out there. With the exception of maybe Panasonic, we've shot a handful on the S5, and that's like very good IBIS. I really like that. So the foundation of this rig is the cage. Now this is the NITS C70 cage. We actually just changed from the Tilta cage, which was amazing. This cage is essentially the same. Gives us lots of great mounting spots. It hugs the camera nice and close. A few things I really like about this cage is it does come with a little HDMI lock. Super handy, just because where that HDMI port kind of sits is a natural spot to just kind of have your wrist if you're pulling focus from the barrel. So a little added protection, appreciate that. It's a great straightforward cage. Keeps the vents and ports you need to access available, and it's really good. The main reason we upgraded from the Tilta cage is at a shoot, the tripod head just gave out. I guess I didn't put it in there quite locked correctly. Took a bad fall, camera kind of landed on the battery and just kind of bleh in front of like a whole wedding party and family, so that was a fun feeling. Thankfully, the cage kind of saved the day. It took the brunt of the damage and we were okay, so it worked out. But that cage did kind of fall apart a bit on us. Some screws started getting loose a little too easily, so hence the change to this NITS cage. Now, the big hump on the back, the VMount. We are now Team VMount. For a long time, I kind of just was like, well, what's the point of a VMount when the Canon C70 battery is so great? The main reason is, well, that story I just told you, the camera battery broke when this camera dropped. So instead of just buying a new first-party Canon one, I thought, why don't we try this whole V-mount thing and see what all the rage is, what all the fuss is about. Spoiler alert, I love it. It's the best, and I don't think I'll ever go back. Besides the huge benefit of being able to power everything on this camera just from one battery source, the other benefit is the weight. So we've got this configured so it is like perfectly balanced, and it makes me oh so happy, especially when shooting handheld. It's surprising how big of a difference it makes. You can get by for sure shooting on an unbalanced rig and it might not be that big a deal, but on long documentary shoots, on long wedding shoots, it can be a huge pain. So having it like this has been a game changer for me. I just dad thumbs up. Hey. So for the V-mount, we got some small rig carbon fiber rails on the bottom just to be able to have our small rig V-mount plate on the back, and then of course our small Came TV V-mount batteries. I go through like 2 of these on a wedding day. I bring 4 just to have, just in case, but super duper. This plate has 2 D-tap ports, very handy. I like that it's not a tilting plate. We have a friend who used the tilting plate and it just kind of wore out over time and just flop. So I took his advice, just got a straightforward V-mount plate. Very glad I did. So on the top here, got a little NATO rail with the top handle on here. For a while, I just didn't put a top handle on because the one that came with the C70 is it's a real plasticky feeling and I don't love it. Also, I would just mount a monitor straight on here in an attempt to be more low profile. And then I realized the top handle, for the benefits you get from it, to me it's worth having a slightly bigger rig. I try to operate a lot of my handheld shots from just the top handle, let gravity do most of the work, so I'm not constantly just holding it. That sound is gross. And yeah, and the NATO rail, having it on top allows me to just slide left and right the top handle to get it into the perfect spot balance wise, which I've got right here. On top of the handle, we've got a little mount for our small HD monitor. This is the Action 5 that came out last year, I think. Overall, really happy with the image quality that comes from here. The brightness, the colors, all that, really great. Don't love that, I don't know, the lack of features in the Action 5, kind of a disappointment. We also have the 702 Touch and the Shinobi. The 702 features galore, really happy with that, but it's just a little too big on wedding shoots, so we opted for this. Once you get it set up the way you'd like, not a big deal not having all those features that come in the 702, but it sure would be nice if they were here. But yeah, and I got it on this small rig tilting mount deal, and it's kind of in the perfect spot for doing a lot of handheld shooting, and I'm really happy with it. Now turning the camera over here, we've got this daddy. This is the small rig. I don't know the name of the handle, but the cool feature about this handle the reason I ended up getting it was this little button right here. A little button allows you to push it and tilt and lock wherever you need. It's surprising how helpful this is. Before this, I just had your standard, wood side handle, and it worked fine. But having that tilt option is extremely helpful. On top of the side handle here, got the Rode, I forget the name of the microphone, but down here. And I love having the option on the back to control your gain, so you can just dial in the perfect levels for recording. It's great for scratch audio, and in certain situations, if you just need to record with that, it's really high quality, and I'm very happy with it. So on the front here, we got the main workhorse of any given wedding shoot, and that's the Sigma 24-70 f2.8. So we have the focal reducer on the C70 here, which turns that 2.8 into an f2 with that full frame field of view. This lens is great. I used to be, and still kind of am, a bit of a prime snob. I shot weddings on exclusively prime lenses for like over 10 years. So I tried this lens out. I saw some amazing filmmakers using it, and I was really impressed at the image quality, and it's delivered for us. This lens is great. It's perfect for, the getting ready part of the day. Basically any B-roll moments, this lens is amazing. So another thing I really like about this lens is the optical stabilization. So this camera obviously doesn't have IBIS, not a deal breaker, but you do want to reduce some of those micro jitters. And I find the OS on this lens kind of does it perfectly. It's not too much, it's not too little, it's just right. You still have to be making sure that you're gripping your camera correctly and letting, gravity do a lot of the balancing for you. But if you do that, the shake is just right. And yeah, I'm really happy with that. Also on the end here, threw on a little glimmer glass filter. Used to have Pro Mists, and I just started to fall out of love with just how murky it makes the shadows especially. So the glimmer glass still gives that nice pleasing bloom in the highlights, but just less strong overall. And the rest of a wedding day, we're usually on the Canon 85mm f1.4 with IS. That lens is a beast. Paired with the focal reducer, it gets down on f1, which is bananas. We don't usually shoot at f1, but having that option is nice. And usually that lens is for vows and speeches. Sometimes we'll find ourselves on the 135mm, but these days mainly the 85. And then if we need a little extra reach, we'll take off the focal reducer, throw on a normal RF to EF mount, and you're good to go. So that's it for this video. I'm really happy with this rig, but if you have any suggestions about how I can improve it, leave that in the comments below, or any questions, that too. If you want to check out these individual items for yourself, check out the links in the description. Those are affiliate links because helps this guy out. And I'll see you in the next video. Okay.